Hello, children. Uh, Today's class is about multinational corporations and it is a part of international economics. Um, Children, this is about this we have not dealt with in direct classes, hence we are doing it through WhatsApp through a video recording. Now, what are multinational corporations? You already know. Now, it is a company which establishes various sub branches, various branches in other countries, and it will have its headquarters in the home country. Now we have various examples towards multinational corporations. Before that, let me go into the introduction. It is a large corporation incorporated in one country which produces or sells goods or services in various countries. It is also called as global enterprise, international enterprise, or transnational corporations, etc. The two big main features of multinational corporations are large size. Worldwide activities are centrally controlled by parent companies. Now, these are the two main features of multinational corporations. Now, MNC has facilities and other assets in at least one country other than its home country. Now, for examples of MNCs in India, Adidas, Aditya Birla Group, Baskin Robbins, Cognizant Technology Solutions, Dunkin' Donuts, Axis Bank, Barclays, Cadbury's, Deutsche Bank, HSBC, IBM, Colgate Palmolive, TCS, Tech Mahindra, Deloitte, etc. Now, there are two basic definitions that I have found simple for you as to what a multinational company is. A multinational company is one in which is incorporated in one country, that is the home country, but whose operations extend beyond the home country and which carries on business in other countries. Now, Neil H., that was an anonymous definition. Now we go into Neil H. Jacobi's definition as what a multinational corporation is. A multinational corporation owns and manages business in two or more countries. Okay. Features of multinational corporations: huge assets and turnover. They have huge physical and financial assets, and their turnover means the volume of sales that they make in one particular year is quite huge in multinational corporations. Now, international operations through a network of branches. Now, multinationals have production and marketing operations in several countries, operating through a network of branches and subsidiaries in host countries. Now, unity of control. Multinational corporations are characterized by unity of control. That is, the business activities of their branches in foreign countries are controlled through the head office located in the home country. That is from the parent corporation. Mighty economic power. Multinational corporations are powerful economic entities. Their power is added through mergers and acquisitions. What are mergers? The mergers are trying to merge a small company with their company or acquire another company into their company. So these are mergers and acquisitions, which are a very common feature in multinational corporations. Then you have something called advanced and sophisticated technologies, which is one of the unique feature of multinational corporations. When a company goes global, they have to upgrade technology, find avenues for innovations, and implement it for sustainable growth, substantial growth. Now, if not, they wouldn't be able to sustain in the market. So they have to find new innovations, new research and technology, and upgrade their technology as and when it is possible. The next one is right skills. Multinationals employ only the best managers, best skilled, efficient, dynamic, and dedicated people to run their business entities, because it is huge and it requires a lot of skill and efficiency. Good quality products. They produce top of the line products, and they spend huge amount on advertising and marketing, because they have to supersede the local products and impress people. Top 5 MCs in the world as on 2019, as per their consolidated revenue. Walmart has a turnover of $514 billion. Syncopec Group has $415 billion. Royal Dutch Shell has $397 billion. China National Petroleum $393 billion, and State Grid has $387 billion. Now, if Walmart becomes an economy, or say is an economy, it would have a GDP value ranked 25th in the world, just above Belgium. Just imagine, children, that is the amount of turnover and sales that Walmart makes, and it has huge subsidiaries extended over the many countries in the world. And you know that Walmart has also come into India. According to UN data, some 35,000 companies have direct investment in foreign countries, and largest 100 of them control 40% of the world trade. And this is the biggest effect of globalization along with liberalization. The four categories or types of MNCs are, there are four categories or types of MNCs, which is a decentralized corporation which have strong home country presence. This is what we have been talking about. And a global centralized corporation that acquires cost advantage through centralized production wherever cheaper resources are available. That is, they would try to establish production units in those countries where the resources are cheaper. So they will produce in those countries and extend their distribution and marketing to other countries. An international company that builds on parent corporation's technology or R&D. So this is one type of a company which will use the R&D and technology of the parent corporation. And a transnational enterprise is one that combines all the above said three categories of multinational corporations. So I repeat once more. So the first one is a decentralized corporations where the home country takes over. The second one is where they will have a production unit where their production is cheaper. Whichever country their labor, raw material, everything is cheaper, in that country they will produce. An international company is one which uses the parent company's R&D, and a transnational enterprise is one which combines the previous three approaches. Now there are a few advantages of MNCs. Now you could add on to the advantages. This is what I could figure out. This is what I could figure out. One. Okay. Now inflow of capital is one of the major advantage that the MNCs offer to the companies they step inside, that is increase in foreign direct investment, especially to the developing world. The developing world gets access to better goods and raise their standard of living because of the MNCs products are higher in grade and quality. And MNCs also offer higher wages. The average real wages have almost tripled since 2018 in the developing economies, and in emerging G20 countries it has tripled since 2008 itself. So MNCs have offered higher wages, so people in local areas shift to multinational corporations. Therefore what happens is even the local companies have to pay higher wages. Now multinational corporations improve the local infrastructure by laying roads, bridges, bringing down water, sanitation, hygiene, and all kinds of technology including electricity, power, technology, and bring their expertise, they bring their skill, they bring their efficiency, and they bring their research and development into the country where they are trying to establish a multinational corporation. And multinationals also maintain their brand, image, service, and so goods which will have wherever they operate. So what happens is even the local companies try to emulate them, and examples could be in the food market. It could be, for example, McDonald's, KFC, Walmart, etc. So the local companies try to copy them, or emulate them in terms of their service and also in terms of their marketing categories. Now multinational corporations encourage more innovation. Multinationals spend 5 to 10% of their annual budget on research. Apple, Black & Decker qualify as the high leverage innovators because of their high investments in R&D. So now these two companies have been ranked number 1 in the world because they invest so much on R&D that they are able to make their investments and also their turnover to the largest extent. Now multinationals enforce their quality standards in marketing, distribution, etc. to keep up to customer service and satisfaction. Here I would like to emphasize on one point is that customer satisfaction was not at all a written proposition in in developing economies status. But once the multinational corporations came into these developing economies, what got prominence was this concept called customer satisfaction. All local companies also tried to give customers the maximum satisfaction. The multinationals offer a positive influence on cross-culture communication. Now, the multinationals offer even negative influence, but when we talk about positive influence on cross-culture communication, we could talk about examples could be automation, digitalization, their policies, technology, customer treated as kingpin, service, post-sales maintenance, etc. So these are some of the advantages that I could think about multinational corporations. And now you could also add on points like increase in employment, increase in revenue. You could also add on to things like people being, all skilled people being absorbed into multinational corporations. They don't now they don't dream about going abroad, but then they have this higher dream of getting into multinational corporations, which offer them the highest salaries. Now, when you so you could also add on many more points as you wish, provided it is a major advantage. Now, the disadvantage of multinational corporations could be multinationals create a higher environmental cost. This is one of the major disadvantage of multinational corporations, because there are some governments, weaker governments tend to exchange environmental harm for additional profits. There are many examples that I could talk, which you would have already read in your environmental economics. Some of us even give away some of our natural resources. There are enterprises which come and offer their waste, and we take their waste, and for which they give us higher incomes or higher profits. So there are weaker governments who tend to exchange environmental harm for additional profits, because of which there is sabotage that is happening in most of the developing economies, especially in the third world economies. Now, the next disadvantage could be MNCs don't leave profits in the area earned. So what happens? They carry away their profits to their home country, or they try to disperse their profits to other areas where they want to diversify. So wherever they have earned profit, that area does not get to re-establish themselves. Then multinationals import skilled labor, because they have this gestation period. So by the time they come and establish themselves, and by the time they train the local people, they need people who are already trained, and therefore what happens? They import skilled labor from their own countries. And multinationals create one-way raw material resource consumption, that is, they exhaust raw materials in the local areas. For example, it has been happening in African countries. Rubber, metals, herbs, and local raw materials are all being exhausted and taken away by these multinational corporations in the name of raw materials. Then multinationals also encourage political corruption. The developing world or the third world countries pay less wages. But what happens when the multinational corporations enter into such countries? They promise higher wages for labor and also for other factor incomes for raw materials, etc. But what happens is money is siphoned off by these politicians and officials, and ultimately these laborers are still being paid lower wages. Then in the way that they are trying to encourage political or political bureaucracy or corruption. Then multinationals also support sweet shop labor, weak labor conditions, massive abundant labor supply, encourage multinational corporations to lower the wages to the greatest extent possible. Now this is what happens to and they try to take away their profit margins, or they try to have greater profit margins. So as a result, what is happening is labor not being paid higher wages by the multinational corporations, and this is happening not in a country like India, but it is still happening in many other countries outside India. Then multinationals remove jobs from their home country. Now this is one of the major disadvantage by the multinational corporations. Several jobs are more economical for MNCs tendencies to outsource or offshore the positions than hire domestically. That is why, American President Donald Trump says that we shouldn't be outsourcing work. All Americans should be given jobs, and let us drive away all Indians, all Africans, and all Indians outside America. And that is how he won his elections. Also, that was his primary agenda in his elections. So, what happens in the home country when the multinationals go out to establish their branches in other countries? Their labor are domestically affected. Now, for examples, this happens in the case of call centers, freelancers, graphic designers, etc., etc. And I hope you understand this much better because you are very, very familiar with BPOs and KPOs. Then multinationals build legal monopolies and oligopolies, and thus put other companies out of business. You know what does this mean? They try to create monopolistic tendencies in the place where they have established their countries. They try to merge with big companies, and as a result, smaller companies or medium size enterprises are washed out of the business. Now, this is a very major disadvantage that the multinational corporations have done for the developing economies. Now, the next class would be on multinational banks. I will get back to you with the next video, children. So far, if you have any doubts, please text me so that I would give you, I would try to clear your doubts through WhatsApp.